This is one of the songs that Sally does the music. Travis, you got the moves, dude. Get it, Travis. Thank you, Sally Lou, for the music.
Okay, Brian, I have a quick question. Is it part, or Katie, even you, is it part of the curriculum to do the pledge in the schools? The Pledge of Allegiance to our national flag?
So I'll answer that because it is in my contract at the school district that I am employed by, that I have to do the Pledge of Allegiance every single day.
Now, is that for every teacher or just you specifically?
That's for my school district. I am not sure if that is a thing at every school district in the county.
Right.
That would be a good question, but I'm proud to say that my school district has put that in our contract. So
That's good. That's good. That's good to hear that, some of the school districts may be doing that, or as all should be. You've have to get the kids to understand, and that's especially when you're working with 5-year-olds. Good grief, that's where it starts. People don't get that. That's where it starts. You don't just magically start learning about all this stuff and as a freshman when you get to the high school. I mean, you start young. You teach them what the country is about, and through the simple act of doing the pledge, they stand up, put their hand over their heart, and they mess up the words until they get it at the end of the year. And that's beautiful. That's got to be fun to watch the little ones trying to figure that out.
yeah, it's awesome. It's so cute.
Well, I don't think that's not common across the country, or across the state. I know in several districts that I've been in, it certainly wasn't the case. We've always done it, and I've always advocated. I can't imagine not wanting to do it.
Right.
Right. Even if it's not in Katie's contract, I'm sure Katie's going to do it. And not only that, we want to teach them songs that glorify our country and promote patriotism. Our country 'tis of thee, right? The songs that we all learned when we were little.
Right.
If we don't instill patriotism in our kids and a love of country, guess what you're going to have?
Yeah.
You're going to have what you have now.
Exactly.
Right? Because people have not been doing that, and people have actually been trying to disrupt our country, and it's not hard to see.
Right.
Just during the break, Katie, you were talking about some new things that Judy Flores is doing, and we found them highly irregular, to say the least. And I'm being really polite because I'm on radio and I can't use any colorful metaphors.
Yeah, so I attended a school board meeting for Enterprise School District, and the reason that I did was a lot of families and parents of kids, young kids, elementary students, were coming to me and saying that their medical exemptions for their vaccinations at school were being denied and pulled from that school district. And one of the things, I went there to support a parent who's going to confront that school district about it. One of the things that they told us was that was coming down from the County Office of Ed, because there's a new infrastructure being put out by the state to track kids' vaccination status, and that they were told to do a preemptive strike and clean up their rolls on their vaccinations and their files. Seriously.
Wow.
That gives me a lot of concern, gives chills down my spine, along with the fact that our state just is now allowing students as young as 12 years old to choose to get the vaccine, a non-FDA approved vaccine for them against their parents' wishes, and they're going to use coercion to do that and tell them that they can't do sports, they can't go to in-person learning, and they can't be with their friends. So this is now passed. If we have Judy Flores in office when this stuff comes down in 2023, will she stand up for our kids? She has shown over and over again that she will not.
Wow.
I think part of the problem is it's none of the state's business who's been vaccinated, who's taken a shot. What does the state need to know? Why is the state compiling all this data? Think of all the money we could save that could be directly spent on these kids in our communities if you didn't have all the people in the State Department of Education compiling all this data.
Well, if we defunded the State Department of California and just went to our local school districts and even just countywide,
Sure.
Just take care of it here. We don't send the money to Sacramento for them for anything. We keep the money here locally, and we take care of our own home base as we should.
I agree. You've got a national Department of Education, too, that was created, I believe, in the 70s that is utterly useless also.
Right.
We don't need them. It's the same thing that Common Core was pushed on us years ago.
Yeah.
We don't need Common Core. We don't want anything that the state or the feds are pushing on us. Let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to teaching kids how to read, how to write, how to do mathematics. Let's teach them trades. Let's teach them valuable skills. When they graduate from high school, they have tangible skills that they can go out and make a living.
Then they have more choices, and then they end up being less likely to become people of the street. You know, I mean, you see, it's heartbreaking to see some young kids out there. They had a crappy home life. They didn't get the education they should have, and now they have nothing. They have nothing to step back on and say, I need to do this. And, you know, the kids that are nurtured and have good home lives and have supported home, they're gonna do well or stand a better chance of doing well. But those poor kids that don't have that, those are the ones we have to work for. And doing exactly what you're saying is going to solve that problem. Give them skills, give them trades, give them interest in things that they will work hard toward so that they will become productive citizens of society.
Oh, sure. You learn how to swing a hammer and you get a good job, you can make $30, $40 an hour right out of high school.
Absolutely.
Which is more than a teacher probably makes these days.
Yeah.
One of the things that I talked about earlier were the schools and the populations that the County Office of Education is responsible for. Now, I've worked in some low-performing school districts before, right? I've worked in some low-performing school districts. But the County Office of Education of Shasta County last year, the students that they are directly responsible for, 5% of those kids were proficient in mathematics. And only 17% of those kids, roughly 17%, forgive me if my number's off a little bit, were proficient in English language arts. What are those kids going to do when they get out of high school?
Nothing.
They're not ready for college. You wouldn't even be able to get into the military. You wouldn't even be able to pass like the ASVAB test. We have to focus our resources on our most neediest kids and our most neediest populations.
Well, they couldn't be a plumber's assistant. They couldn't
No,
be
couldn't read a manual.
They couldn't be an apprentice for a contractor because they can't read a measuring tape. They couldn't do basic math. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's terrible.
It's criminal. It's a shame. And why we're not focusing on those kids directly? The County Office of Education has a roughly $35 million budget. There's no reason why these kids are not up to snuff on what they need to know and be able to learn what they need to learn to be successful.
Are they heavy on the administration?
Well, there's roughly 350 employees at the County Office of Education. I believe at last count, 80 or more of them made over $100,000 a year. So there's a glut of middle management and upper management.
So they're just managing each other.
Well, if you manage 3 people and the person below you manages 3 people and the person below you manages 3 people, I'd say that's a glut of management.
Yeah, that's going to be about 35%.
And then
Yeah, it's just an unbelievable chunk of money. I've never seen it before in a school district that I've worked at. My job as a school district superintendent is to use the money that the community has entrusted us with to do the best job that we can. Not to pad pensions, not to do it for the adults, most people that go into education go into it because they love children. Mm-hmm. They go into it, none of us went into this to get rich.
Right.
As a beginning teacher years ago, I think my first contract was $27,000 a year. My wife and I had $30 a week for food. Right, so we did not go into this.
Were you skinnier?
I was a lot skinnier, thank you. Yeah. Quite a bit, about half of me probably. But we have to garner the resources that we have, and there's plenty of resources. People are so we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. $35 million at the County Office of Education. What are you getting for that as a community? What do you get? She can't get pencils in her classroom.
Well, that's
Right.
the other thing is, up until this point, when Judy started actually campaigning because she had an opponent, she was completely irrelevant to my school district and anything that I've ever done up till this point. When I first started as a teacher, I asked for books under First Five that the county was in charge of under a little grant that teachers could get books. I got denied. That was literally my only even little glimpse of something from them. To me, this has just been ridiculous hearing about all the things that she's doing. And as far as what Bryan's talking about now, about the glut of middle management, I am so upset about something that just recently happened. About a week or two before Teacher Appreciation Week, the Shasta County Office of Ed, and I guess all the school districts supposedly pitched in on this, but they had a dinner appreciating the administrative assistants in this county. And they had it at Wind River, they got to have, wonderful meal and, just hung out and talked about, patted each other in the back. And, we got nothing. Us teachers, our school districts took care of us and whatnot with the, Costco cake. But, that is to me ridiculous when you have the teachers on the front lines and, I didn't see a statement or something come across my email saying, good job, come to Wind River. That'd be great.
So how many, they went to Wind River and spent a boatload of money to do that. Where does the money come from?
Well, I asked that question, and from the answer that I got was that the school districts themselves, as well as the county office of ed, pitched in for that dinner.
Oh, so that means the taxpayers paid for it.
Correct.
Okay.
Your pocket.
I'm just making sure that we're
Your
all on the
left
same
and your right
page.
pocket.
So to
Yeah.
clarify, the taxpayers pay for this event, and you were saying that there are, 350 employees in the district? Now, are we talking?
county office.
The county office, okay. Are we talking about teachers too, or just, okay, so that's teachers?
That would include, the same,
Okay.
same as a
Okay, so the reason I'm asking that is that you're looking at probably about 35% of that $35 million budget going for salaries.
Oh, it's probably more than that.
It's probably more than
Oh,
that,
it's gonna
okay,
be, right.
because I was going off of the 80 people making $100,000 a year, so it could be as much as 40%.
Well, most school districts, Terry, most school districts in the state of California, 80 to 90%. I've seen a school district at like 92%
Salary?
salary and benefits.
Oh, my.
Oh yeah, in Butte County, probably still the same way.
Yeah, you're not
Or
taking
go
into
with
the
the crowd.
benefits.
I don't know what it is now, but when I was in Butte County, it was 97%, like 91, 92.
That's unbelievable. Okay, so, again, how is that controlled? Is that controlled by who controls that? Who controls the salary issue in the county? I mean, who does that?
Well, for the county office of education, it would be the superintendent would present the budget.
Would be you.
Right.
But you oversee the school district's budgets as well.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Can you make
Right.
changes?
Well, you couldn't necessarily make changes, but you could say something's amiss here. We're spending way too much money on administration, and we're not spending. So what will happen is every year, it happens a few times during the year because you have different times where they have to present their budget. But let's just talk about the annual adoption of the budget. That'll come to the county office of education. The county office will either bless it or not bless it. Basically, they'll say everything looks good, you're good, you have enough money to last for the next 3 years, because we're always looking 3 years out. So it'll go back to the board, and 99% of these boards will probably just okay it because the county office said it's okay. But if I saw something like that, where more than 80%, 85%, 90% certainly, I'd say you're not spending any money. Let's make this correlation. Let's look at your test scores. Mm-hmm. How well are your kids learning? How well are they? How good are they at mathematics or language? Is there a correlation between spending all this money on salary and benefits to test scores? So we would really take a good look at that. And I would not be able to bless something that wasn't kosher for our children.
Well, that's very frustrating because my wife has been a teacher for 30-some years, and there have been years, and most recently even, where she's gone out to Walmart or Target or wherever, Costco, and buy in bulk binders, paper, pencils, erasers, glue, you name it, whatever was going to be needed for the lessons in the classroom, or just for kids to take notes, because some of these kids come from a home life that don't have that access, plus which the school isn't providing any of that. And then using some of the books that they've used in the past that have been clearly outdated with statistics. Not so much the historical part, because the old books are going to have the accurate history.
It's more accurate than the new books.
That's right. That's right. But it's the statistical stuff that you have in there that isn't right. And so she's been very frustrated over the years at different times about having to do that. And we're a working family. She'd spend a couple hundreds of dollars, per classroom, per class, that she would have. And she could have 6 classes. And you're talking about that. How many other teachers are doing that? I know there are a lot of them that do, and every year some teachers just do it because that's what they like to do, but some of them do it because they feel that they have to, because otherwise the kids aren't going to have the tools to learn. And that's the part that's really sad, especially when you hear you know, of those 365 employees for SCOE, and then you hear however many of them are over $100,000 a year, why aren't we shaving some of that off and putting that in the classroom?
Well, and
that's where it should
Exactly
go.
it. That's
more
exactly right.
more importantly, they're irrelevant. Like that's the thing
Yeah.
that I can't even.
Yeah.
When I heard that was how many people, and you know, our county office of education is going and doing things like sending our board members to go to critical race theory training, and they're spending money on training our teachers for 0 to 5-year-olds in critical race theory that and talks about white spaces and spirit murdering and all this other really weird stuff that Shasta County voters don't want. And the reason that's happening is because Judy sees herself as a liaison for the state. And that's why I support Bryan, because Bryan is going to be an elected official by the people, and that's who he plans on answering to.
You know, we've talked a lot about the budget. We've talked about a lot of issues in the schools. And Katie, thank you, darling, for being the great teacher you've been, and Sharon Carpenter, what a great lady she is, and all these great teachers out there that are trying to do the right thing. It really kind of goes back to home life, doesn't it? It really kind of goes back to the parent, doesn't it? I mean, we seem to be wanting to throw a lot of responsibility now on the schools that the parents should be doing. And a lot of it, I think, because we have a lot of single parents. And I think there's a lot of issues to where the people, again, and this is something I think we've really come out of. We've come out of being lazy because we were lazy about our kids. They're going to school. We were lazy about our kids. And I think that's been an issue. And I think that touching on that is pretty important, you know, of you from a teacher side. And Bryan, you've been a teacher, you know, you've worked in administration. I'd like to hear your views on that.
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things that the blunt or the glut of responsibility has been put on our teachers, right? We were talking about financial issues. Each one of our teachers should have a discretionary budget, whether it's $500, $1,000, $2,000 a year, a discretionary budget that they can purchase the materials that they need for their kids. There is no reason why Katie or anyone else should be taking money out of pocket that's already taxed by the federal government and the state government. So it's even more. If she spends $2,000, that's $3,000 earned, which no one talks about. So whenever I was a principal or a superintendent, I would make sure that our teachers had either, sometimes it's in the contract. It'll be in their contract that they get X amount of dollars a year. And then sometimes it's not, but we always want to make sure that we do that. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our teachers. Some of our teachers couldn't afford to do that.
Right.
So what do those teachers do? The ones that
Yeah.
simply they're having a hard time.
Right.
Gas is $6 a gallon.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they're struggling. Or they're taking college classes and they're putting out
Single income, and they may have a couple children,
Sure.
and they're just trying to survive, and then they get hit with that on top of it.
They're
Yeah.
already underpaid. So
Yeah.
I think that's what bothers me more, and it hurts me to know that our teachers, and I come from a long line of teachers, my sisters, my aunts, my uncles, I was a teacher for years, my wife, a few of my kids are in the education field, to hear them feel unappreciated, that breaks my heart. That breaks my heart. When I stand for the flag, I don't just think about our veterans. I think about our first responders, our police officers, our firemen. I think about our teachers. I think about our community, right? It's more than that. What we have to do is get back to investing in our children and investing in our teachers,
Yeah.
right? Because if we do not, who knows what's going to happen in the future? So it's getting bad now.
Yeah.
And if you don't realize that, you haven't woken up yet, right? The one good thing about the pandemic is it did wake us up to all the critical race theory.
Oh
Absolutely.
boy, howdy.
As a superintendent and as a principal, we never did it. We never did it. When I got, 10 or 12, 15 years ago, whenever it was, I don't even remember now, the state says, well, you've got to let a boy go in the girls' restroom and you've got to let a girl go in the boys' restroom. That is not a policy that I passed on to my board.
Yeah.
That one either got deleted or crumpled up and thrown in the trash. We're not doing that. That is insane.
Yeah.
There's no way. I've got 2 girls. There's no way they're going in the bathroom with a boy. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we are not protecting our children. I mean, just look what's going on, right? And don't read the mainstream newspapers or the mainstream news because you're going to get a totally different spin on it.
Yep.
Go look for yourself. Go look what's going on. Go find out what's going on. So one good thing about COVID is it did open our eyes and it opened parents' eyes to what exactly is going on. Now, when you talk about critical race theory, implicit bias, all those things, They don't generally call it those things, right?
Right.
It's not. They don't call it. Oh, critical race theory is here. It's always packaged in a nice, sweet way. In fact, at the debate I had with my opponent a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, she really tried to characterize critical race theory as this wonderful thing. We're just doing it for the kids, right? She just tried to package it in the sweetest, nicest way. So I urge anyone to go back and look and see what she said about it. My response to critical race theory is it has no business anywhere in Shasta County. We do not want it. We do not want to do it. If you are doing it, and I'm your county superintendent of schools, I will call that district out. I'll do it nicely. I'll make sure that I talk to the superintendent and the board. If they refuse to do it, then I will make sure that the public knows, whether it's going on the radio or on television or you know, our local newspaper probably wouldn't let me talk to them about it. But people have to know what's going on. You have to know what's going on in your classrooms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you hear words like ethnic study framework, and it sounds cool, like your students are going to learn about different cultures and things like that. Well, that's not what it is. What it is basically a Marxist ideal being veiled as, you know, this anti-racist, you know, movement, but it's designed to make your students think in a certain way of not standing out, not doing anything, and everything has to be overcompensated for groups of people that are perceived as being underprivileged. And for me, I find this very upsetting because, you know, I work in a poverty area, and my students are predominantly white, and they are underprivileged, and they do need a lot of resources. And, you know, it has no business in my school talking to my students and telling them, you know, that because they don't have money that they can't, you know, be amazing or
Right.
get out there and, you know, live the American dream. I feel like that's child abuse.
That is. Well, all of this has been child abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has. It's all been child abuse, and people that are complicit with it need to pay the price.
Well, when I was a teacher, and I'm sure Katie's the same way, and my job was to build these kids up.
Absolutely.
You can do it. Put your mind to it. Work hard. Dedication.
Power of
Determination. Right. You can do it. It doesn't matter where you started. And the reason why I really, really believe this is I had, when I was 9 years old, my father passed away. Well, I was in the 4th grade. Well, in the 5th grade, I had a teacher named Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes was that man. You can do it. You can make it. All you got to do is work hard. We would sing songs about setting goals, about working hard, and he just like, I can do it, right? I can do it. So, I could have very easily went that other direction. I could have very easily, but that man at 10 years old literally changed my life. And he's the reason why I became an educator. And he's one of the main reasons why I saw that passion that he had for children. Right? And he just loved on us. And he just wanted us to be successful. He wanted us to work hard. He wanted us to do whatever we wanted to do. And I think that's really what it's all about. We've gotten so far away from that. Katie talks about the ethnic studies, the implicit bias. That's just tearing us down. It's breaking kids down. You should be ashamed because you're white. You should be ashamed because your forefathers owned slaves. No, we should not be ashamed, nor should we celebrate that, but that was just the way things were in the world at the time.
Right.
I cannot be responsible for what happened a couple hundred years ago, no more than the people that live in Japan today should be responsible for
Right.
what happened in Pearl Harbor in
Right.
1941.
Right.
Right? It's unbelievable. We have to get back to doing what's best for our children. And I can tell you, if you are not doing what's best for our children, and I am your county superintendent of schools, you may want to find another place to go, because I'm going to find you out, and I'm going to let everybody know about it.
Right.
Let's just get back to doing what's best for our kids.
There's a new marshal in town, new sheriff. Well, there better be a new sheriff. Anyway, we have about 3 minutes left. So, Bryan, how do people get a hold of you? How do they find out your message? I believe you have a campaign manager.
You can get a hold of us on our website at votebryancaples.com. You can also go on there. There's so many times that I've been on the radio or have videos taken of me talking and speaking. They're not even all on there. There's so many of them. But there's probably hours of there on there. You can go actually listen to what we have to say and what we're about. And a lot of it will be the same stuff that you heard today. We want what's best for our kids, and we're tired of people not putting our kids first. You can get a hold of us directly at votecaples@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at Elect Bryan Caples. We're always, sometimes 4 or 5 different events a week. So there's always someplace where you can just come up and talk to me. And you'd be shocked at how many people explicitly go to these things just to ask a question, just to talk, or just to clarify something. And how much I appreciate that.
They want that face-to-face contact.
People take time out of their own day to come and ask a question. And it's very important questions. It's something they really want to know. So I truly appreciate that. We've got a lot of keyboard warriors that really just try to tear us down and do nasty things to us. We just take it with a grain of salt. That's part of the fight. But
And if you're in the Bernie area, I will be at the Bernie VFW at 6 o'clock, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. I'll be speaking on Bryan's behalf, and we'll have other 3 candidates as well, non-establishment candidates there. You can come and meet them, ask questions. I'll be there representing Bryan.
And where's this going to be at?
At the Bernie VFW.
Okay, and what time?
6 o'clock.
Great.
Not this Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Well, Bryan, this has been an amazing program. I think that there's a lot of information, folks, that can get out there. We're going to break down this program in certain spots, some information that was given to us that's new. A lot of what Bryan talks about now is about liberty, freedom, and protecting our children, which is the number one thing. And Bryan, thank you for running, brother. Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. Katie,
absolutely.
thank you for all you do, your teaching, everything else. You guys are amazing. Remember to vote on June 7th. Vote in person.
Yeah.
Bryan Caples, Superintendent of Schools, Shasta County.
And to keep your vote secure, go to the registrar's
Yes.
office downtown. Go
Run it
there.
through the machine, baby.
Run it through the machine yourself.
The time has come.
For 51.
Let's get it done.
Amen.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.